good morning to everybody. How are you guys? Edward and I are chilling. He's still got his space socks on. He seems to be a happy lad. And in honor of that, I've worn my space shirt today. This is a great space shirt. I can't remember where I got it. It may have been like Hot Topic or Target. But it's rad because it glows in the dark. So when you turn off the lights, my shirt glows. It's really cool. And as you know, I don't like a tight thing around my neck, so I put all these cuts on it. I think it looks cool. Good morning to everybody, and today we're going to be talking about cows and witchcraft. So this is a really interesting video that I thought up on a whim about an hour ago, because yesterday when I was out, I picked up something from the market that is a cow part, and I'll be showing it in a while, but I need to give you a disclosure that's what's inside of this box. Not everybody's going to want to see, okay? It is something that you can get at specialty grocery stores. It is a cow part. But we're going to talk about cows first, and then at the end of the video we'll show, good guess, Tangerine, eyeball! If they sold cow eyeballs at the grocery store I was at, I certainly would get them. Now, let's talk a little bit about what we do have on the table. Okay, we have a big sheet of leather. Now that's cow skin, right? Most of us participate in leather, whether it's on our sofa, or whether it's on our shoes, or whether it's something that I like to use the spirit of this piece of suede that I got a long time ago, and I cut off of it, and I use that same spirit in a bunch of different workings. So I might tie up one of my amulets with this cord, you know, and this is cow skin. And I think most of us do know that that is cow skin, right? Leather and suede, it's cow skin. Here's our lovely cow. When I was a girl on the farm, we grew up with cows, and it's by far my favorite animal, even over cats. It's just a little more inconvenient to own a cow. So this is just like a black and white dairy cow figurine that I have. But my cow that I had for the longest time when I was a kid, her name was Junebug, and she was red and white. I think they call those cows Hertfordshires or something like that. I'm not the best with cow names. But her name was Junebug, and my parents got her. She had babies for the farm, but she never... Her job on the farm was to have babies, and then she was our pet cow that we were never going to eat and that we were never going to, you know, milk or anything like that. And Peggy, I have to tell the story, I'm so sorry, Mama, but you did it to me. One day I came home from school, and I was like 9 years old, and Junebug was just gone. And my mom thought that it was the best way to do it was just to not tell me, and to just, one day I came home from school and I went in the pasture to go play with Junebug like I did every day, and she was gone. So Peggy had a lot of explaining to do, and it was something I still think about today. But the thing is that Junebug was getting old, and she wasn't able to make babies anymore, and they had to do the farm smart decision. Like, if you have a farm with pets, it's just a farm with pets, but if you have a farm to just sustain your family and you guys don't have much money, then you have to do what's best in that situation. Yeah, and this was in the late 80s, so Junebug's definitely passed away, but I still feel like I'm able to work with her spirit even today, and I think it's because just I formed such a good connection with her early on as a little child. So let's say hi to everybody who's here. Hi Tangerine, hi Living Out Loud, hi Rhythm Spirit. Who else is here? Come say hi. Janine Bruchez, hello. I like how you do your shirts. Well, thank you, hon. I really appreciate that. Joyce Jordan's here, good morning, and Raven Sandmoon's here, good morning. Well, lovely to see you guys and everyone else who's in the room. Now, let's talk a little bit more about other things that you can get besides leather, which is pretty simple, but maybe you're not thinking about it. Using leather is taxidermy. It is not in the most traditional sense of like a mounted deer, but it certainly is taxidermy, just like feathers and shells are also taxidermy. Hi Butterfly Magic with hot tea. We're talking about cows today, and I just told my Junebug story about the cow I had when I was a little girl. And, you know, I work with Junebug's spirit even though I haven't seen her in 28 years. But, you know, I have this awesome picture of her, and I work with that, and I think that it's great. Now let's talk about some other things that are on the table here. I've got this, which is a cow hoof, okay? And they sell these for $2 at your local pet shop. Okay, not a lot of people probably think of that, but you can go get a cow's hoof. And why might we use this in witchcraft, a cow's hoof? Well, okay, let's talk about the leather, alright? The leather we can use in witchcraft for protection, for warmth, for, you know, whatever it resonates with you. But to me, our skin protects us. It kind of holds everything in. It keeps us warm. It's a huge organ, right? The skin is the biggest organ of the body. It's everywhere. So, and then also remember that all of the life resides inside of the leather, right? All life resides inside of the skin, this bag of skin that we are. And so, you know, when you're using this in your workings, you can add leather as a protective element, as a warmth element. I love my Danes. Nice to see you. Nice to see her. She's upcycling. What's she doing? She says, this is ghetto maybe, but I saved the leather from an expensive couch and a mansion was throwing away. How is that ghetto? I mean, that's something I do all the time. And, like, honestly, if a t-shirt has become too worn out for me, I cut the graphic off and I put it on a pillow. You know what I'm saying? Like, I upcycle stuff all the time because it's, like, attached to me. It's been a part of me for so long. So I think that that's great. And I don't think it's lame. Also, that leather couch was probably going to be thrown in the dump. So really, you're kind of saving it like I save pieces of taxidermy that are just, like, in old, cold garages and stuff. So, for the leather, it can, you know, have that element of protection, of holding life. And for the hoofs, it would be like all the places that cow has been, you know, and the hoof makes me think of walking, makes me think of journeys. Look, you can do a working right inside of the hoof. And I think that's cool. So don't forget about all those things you can get at pet stores. Like this also, these are things that dogs chew on. But at pet stores also, they have like, pig ears for dogs to chew on, antlers. They sell deer antlers at pet stores because a lot of dogs chew on deer antlers. God, I have loads of antlers right now. So I'm going to show you guys what's in the box. I know I said I was going to wait till the end of the video, but we've got a good amount of people here. Now, I'm going to say, you may want to look away. This is something I bought from the supermarket, but it's not exactly something maybe everybody would want to see, okay? So inside of this box, this is an old cigar box. Oh no, Grand Champagne Cognac. It's a cognac box. But oftentimes I put things in here that I want to display interestingly. So let's do it. What do you guys think is in the box? What do we think is in the box? What kind of cow part do we think is in here that I'm going to end up working with? Cedar chips at the pet stores too. Joyce, I was looking at cedar chips yesterday at the fancy grocery store I was at, and they were selling them by this fresh salmon, the cedar planks. It was $2 for a cedar plank. I just couldn't figure out how to break it apart to use my teas and stuff, because I use fresh cedar wood in my teas. It goes in the Joy tea. Butterfly Magic says tongue and hoof. Well, I have the hoof right here. Tangerine guessed eyeball. It was a great guess. And like I say, if they had eyeballs there, I would have gotten it. Now, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not a beef brain. It's not a beef liver. It's not beef kidneys. But they had all those things at the supermarket. They also had beef suet, which is beef fat, and it looks like little maggots. Super weird. But, you know, if you wanted to gain weight, you could use the beef suet for weight gain. If you wanted to lose weight, you could use the beef suet or the fat for weight gain. Good idea, teeth, man. I wish... See, and this is the things that you can get at the farm. When you go to the farm, you can get all cow parts, right? Okay, so you guys, I'm going to open it, and I'm glad nobody's guessed it. Okay, I'm going to open it, and it's going to look kind of weird or kind of gross. So it is a beef tongue, and it's from Oregon. That's the tongue of the cow. And when I was a kid, we used to have big dinners of beef tongue. Not often, because it was just whenever you butchered a cow. But I'm going to be dehydrating the beef tongue and selling it on my Etsy shop for communication workings, for workings of the nature of shut up workings, Lots of hoodoo workings can be done with beef tongue. But how could you get the beef tongue into a working, you know? It really just looks like a roast, to be quite honest. When you see this one side, you can actually see the texture on the tongue. This is the tongue. But when they cut it off, they do cut it all the way from the back of the throat. Okay? So, beautiful, beautiful beef tongue. Almost looks like a beef heart as well. So I'm just going to be cutting this up into small pieces and putting it in my dehydrator that's too hot for vegetables. That's the dehydrator that I put my chicken's feed in. That's the dehydrator that I put poisonous herbs in. That's the dehydrator that I know that I'm not going to be eating off of. Okay? Ooh, Raven Sandman says, I found a horse tooth on vacation at the beach. You were so excited. That's fantastic. Horses do go on beaches. So, anyway, if you had cow eyeballs, you could do them for vision workings. I don't see those things as gross. If I had cow eyeballs, I'd put them in the dehydrator, and then I would put them in a wet specimen jar. I make a wet specimen out of it. And then how do you work with it? You just have it present during your working. But this cow tongue is going to be really great for mojo bags. The cow tongue costs $20. It's GMO free. Generally, they can go up to like $40 for a bigger tongue. But you can cut it in slices or little small chunks, and then dehydrate it. It will turn into a dehydrated meat, and then you can, put those into mojo bags, like I say, for communication, for shut up workings, to stop gossiping. You could tie up a piece of tongue with black rope to stop gossiping. Lots of things, and use your intuition with this, you guys. Yeah, assorted animal teeth, those are great. I Love My Dane says, I used to have 2 cows for pets. You could ride one of them like a horse. That's so sweet. So I hope that I didn't upset anybody by showing them that, but I thought that it was like so fitting for the channel, with me being the taxidermy witch and everything. But I did want to talk about something. I looked in all 3 of these books, and I couldn't find cow. I couldn't find cow in my Beasties book. This book also doesn't have cat, and it doesn't have quail. So those are some that I look up pretty often. And this book didn't have it. So these books that I thought might have some information on cow, they didn't have anything about cow, but the next word right next to it. Oh, Butterfly Magic, I love all those wordages. Got your cat's tongue. Eat your heart out. Got him by the eyeballs. Putting out my hair, my eyes. Why are those phrases running through your mind now? I think because it's like when we use the grapevines for the gossip removal workings. I started doing that because of the song by the California Raisins. I heard it through the grapevine. And it was talking about, like, gossip. And that's always been a phrase meaning, like, gossip. That's why I use them for gossip removal workings. So Butterfly Magic with hot tea, I feel like the reason that's running through your head right now is because you could relate those things to workings, however it resonates to you. So, not on the topic of cow, but when I looked up cow in these books, it wasn't there, but there was a word that I just learned that I don't know if any of you guys know this word. So I'm going to talk about it, and it's called cowan. C-O-W-A-N. Do you guys know what cowan means? C-O-W-A-N. I figured we should talk about it. Because I never heard it before until today. Yep, animism. Yep, we talked about that. Chakras. You guys know what cowan is? C-O-W-A-N. So cowan, C-O-W-A-N, I'm going to read what it means. Cowan is a term used in modern Wicca and witchcraft to denote someone who is not a Wiccan or witch. Generally, the word implies that the person has no connection to or sympathy for the religion of Wicca or witchcraft. So it's kind of like the word muggle, maybe, non-magic folk, but in this, it's going beyond that and saying non-magic folk that also have no respect for it. So these are the people that you come out of your broom closet to, and you're admitting it and saying your truth and who you are, and they say it's ridiculous and you're wasting your time, and or it's evil and you're wasting your time. A Cowan, yeah, Joyce says, not a witch, Cowan. Good morning, Shana. So, Shana, you should make sure to watch the beginning of this video because I showed everybody this. But if you get grossed out easy, don't watch it. Okay, so Cowan in this book, and right now we're reading The Witch Book by Raymond Buckland. Cowan, the term used by witches for a non-witch, someone who has not been initiated into the old religion. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, a Cowan is uninitiated, outside, profane. And that the term is slang for a sneak or an inquisitive or prying person. In Scotland, a Cowan was somebody uninitiated into the secrets of Freemasonry. So it's not only used in witchcraft. I told you guys that Freemasonry was a form of witchcraft. I don't know why anybody's not bringing that together. But, you know, if they're using the same wordage for non-magic folk, I kind of... Anyway, whatever. You know, oftentimes Joyce Jordan calls herself a crone. Let's see what the definition of crone is. Otherwise known as the dark goddess in Wicca. The triple goddess corresponds to the three phases of the moon, waxing, full, and waning. In her waxing phase, the goddess is the virgin maiden and warrior. In her full phase, she is the mother. In the waning phase, she is the crone. Ah, well, that's interesting. The crone is often associated with Hecate of the three faces, and also with Kali, the destroyer, Morgan, queen of the ghost world, and Caridwen. Barbara Walker suggests that the crone may have been derived from Rhea Cronia, the mother of time. The crone also represents the third post-menopausal phase of a woman's life, and I think that that's what Joyce is referring to. According to Walker, because it was believed that women became very wise when they no longer shed their lunar wise blood, but kept it within. The crone was usually a goddess of wisdom. Examples are Athene, Mindvera, and Medusa. Oh, we should talk about Medusa more, you guys, man. And then it says also see hag, but I've done a whole video on hags in witchcraft and what that means. But we could certainly talk about it. I love talking about hags. Yeah, Joyce, how is everything over there in Oklahoma? I mean, storm-wise, are you guys doing okay? My hair's not doing okay, but I hope Joyce is doing okay. Who else is here? Sea Willow Orbs and Tarot showed up. Hey, Iridescent Sea, how are you, my love? So nice to see you. I think I've shown everything on the table, but beef heart or chicken hearts are very, very easy to get at the grocery store. They're both very inexpensive, and chicken hearts are tiny. That would be a really good one to work with for any kind of, like, heartache, love magic, love revival. I don't like to do love spells or love workings, but attraction workings. If you were just so sad or depressed, you could work with an animal's heart. And these are things that are just being thrown away. After they butcher the chicken or take the eggs or whatever they do with the chicken, you know, if nobody buys them up. And back in the days, remember, this is probably what our ancestors of hoodoo were eating and working with. And from some of my book reading, tells me that a lot of time they were just left with the organ meats of the animals because the slave owners would get the muscle meat. And that's what we're eating when we eat a steak, is muscle, right? So how does that resonate with us? We're eating a steak from a cow and we're eating their muscle. Well, we know that red meat does provide strength for people, and that makes sense because a muscle is strength, right? Look at my giant muscles. These are my giant massage muscles. They're so firm. But the under part is not firm. Joyce says, we're fine here. Some flooding in the state. Some folks have drowned. Homes are destroyed in a few. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This sucks. So you could eat a steak of any animal, their muscle meat, for strength. You could dehydrate it and put it in a strength working. Now here's another thing though. I'm going to dehydrate this. Warning, I'm going to show the tongue again. I'm going to dehydrate this cow tongue in pieces, right? Not in a one whole thing. But if I had $20 to do a working on, you could do a shut up working on this very tongue, right? Right there with the tongue. So, that being said, when I do those shut up workings on a fresh tongue that I've not cooked or dehydrated, it's just raw, right? I bury it. That's how I put it into the universe, is I bury it. Now, if we're dehydrating these pieces of tongue for communication workings or for shut up workings or something of the like, or gossip workings, you can put it in a mojo bag, but know that, like, how long does jerky last? It's going to basically turn into jerky. To me, that doesn't bother me too much because I don't feel, like, anytime I've ever put in a taxidermied meat into a bag, dehydrated meat into a bag, it's never started to smell. But I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. I just think that when you enchant something like this, or we put our intention on it and the herbs around it, somehow it's like when Paramahansa Yogananda, the guy who wrote Autobiography of a Yogi, when he died, his body never started to rot. He stayed out for 3 weeks' time, and his body never started to rot, even when at the point when they put him in the ground. It's just some things that are so beautifully spiritual or so close to deity, I believe kind of can't rot. And so that's why I feel like, for me, I put tongue and other dehydrated meats inside mojo bags. I've never had a problem with smell. But no, it's like putting a piece of jerky into a mojo bag and then keeping it on your person, right? And dehydrated is different than cooked. Dehydrated sucks out all the moisture. Cooked is like you cook a big juicy steak. The juicy is right in the word, you know, right in the sentence. So dehydrating is sucking all of that moisture out, so like jerky. One time I found a piece of jerky on my car floor I was a vegetarian at the time, so it must have been down there for 2 years' time, and it never smelled or anything else like that, you know what I mean? So that's my little test. Same thing will happen with a McDonald's french fry. If you wanted to put a McDonald's french fry in your mojo bag, you sure fucking could. It's not going to rot. But that's for completely different reasons. That's because they put plastic in the fry oil, from what I've heard. Hi to everybody who's here. Tangerine asked, Jen, did you see the documentary on that ancient dead yogi they found recently? No, I didn't. But Paramahansa Yogananda was a yogi, like I said, and it's just nuts that his body was out for 3 weeks to a month and just never ever started to go. There are dead monks in caves that sit in the position they died in for decades without decomposition. That's what I'm talking about, you guys. I feel like you guys are all resonating with what I'm saying. That if something is enchanted or close enough to deity or to the divine, that it's just some kind of preservation. So I do the bit of preservation, and then I'll be selling cow tongue on my Etsy site, you know, so 3 or 4 pieces of cow tongue in an order. Yeah, Tangerine, please try and find me the link and send it to me on Hangouts. I'd love that. And Tangerine Layla, I heard you got a Skype, so if that's true, find me on Skype, Jen the Taxidermy Witch. Jen, the way you have the tongue in the box reminds you of Snow White and the Heart. Good, I'm glad. I kind of wanted it to be totally gross and eerie, like something disgusting in a really beautiful box. I'm actually going to elevate it on these books so y'all can see it. I mean, it's not that gross, right? I should have put a warning in the thing. But, I mean, I'm called the Taxidermy Witch, so chances are I'm going to bring some out every once in a while. So, yes, there it is. Beautiful, beautiful cow's tongue. But I just love the cow energy, you guys. If you ever get a chance to... Why don't they have cows at petting zoos, like, more often? Because that's kind of the best part. I spent so much time with cows in my childhood, really. I mean, the majority of time spent in my childhood was with cows and in my garden, just kind of hanging out. Jen, do I do binding spells? Yes, I do. But it depends. I mean, I do, but only if I can justify the working. Like, I only do a working if I do a working for myself, it's got to be justified. If I do it for somebody else, I have to know the story and then feel in my heart that it's justified. So, I do any kind of working, except I don't do love workings, because I've seen them end in stalking, and I've seen one even end in, like, suicidal tendencies because they couldn't be with the person, and they had a love spell put on them, and it's just super sad. Like, every time I've seen one go wrong, and I see them go wrong more often than I see them go right. So that's probably the only working I don't do for myself or for other people. But I do love revival workings for a couple that's having trouble, you know, because they're already a couple. They already are together. But I've seen it result in some pretty heavy stalking issues. So that's for me why I don't do those, if anyone was wondering. But yeah, binding workings, return to sender workings. Yeah. So tongue, so we said communication, gossip removal, and shut up. What else could we do with the tongue, you guys? You do that hoodoo that you do so well. That's hilarious. Cows are cool. When I was little, this is what Joyce says, my grandma's cow had twin calves. That's so cute. And they were so sweet, and the cow was so gentle. Cows are so gentle. Hey, Uncle Badger, how are you? Let's show Uncle Badger what's in the box. Oh, Thomas! Look! It's a beautiful cow tongue. And I'm going to be dehydrating and using in workings. Lovely fun. What's in the box? What's in the box? We let everybody guess, and nobody guessed tongue. I told him it was a cow part that I found in the grocery store. Tangerine guessed eyeballs, and I was like, yes, I wish there was eyeballs, but there wasn't. So, yeah, it's all, I found it frozen. It's all dehydrated now. I'm going to get ready to cut it up. And I am a texture gal, so I do like to do the massage on the tongue. The tongue is interesting. And like I say, we had this on our dinner table 2 or 3 times a year, because we would butcher a cow about 2 or 3 times a year. And so the tongue, they go all the way to the back of the throat and cut it out, because your tongue is a lot longer than you can even see, like your personal tongue, you know. And the end of the tongue is fuzzy, like our tongues are kind of fuzzy on the outside. And let's see if we can show that fuzz to you. So they're really textured, and what you do when you go to eat it is, when it's cooking, there's like this sheath that's on the outside of the tongue, that furry part, and it just kind of comes off. And then the muscle. The tongue is one of the strongest muscles. I think a lot of us know that. But when you eat it, it's tender, and it's really lovely. And a lot of people make like a mint jelly to put on the top of it, or you can get mint jelly. I tend to make like clove and red wine sauce, maybe allspice, something like that, and just do like a reduction, make it a little bit sweet with some maple syrup or some orange juice. I love like orange juice, maple syrup, and red wine, and mulling spices, and make that into a reduction. Okay, great, Tangerine. I just got that that information on Hangouts. Thank you so much. Oh, Butterfly Magic! I didn't see you guess tongue. I'm sorry. No, but we do have the hoofs here. I didn't see your tongue guess. Sorry about that. Ooh, okay, Nello says, because I asked you guys what could we use the tongue for in workings. Nello says, sign tax working, maybe something about vibrational tones and sacred words. Yeah, absolutely. Or if you were trying to get ready, like if you are somebody who gave public speeches or public talks or something like that, and you have a lot of nerves in regard to your speeches, you could make a mojo bag that you kept on you to help you with your words, right? So I love that idea. What else could we do with cow tongue, you guys? We're definitely, now, let me tell you this. Cows don't talk, but if you spend time with a cow, and I really hope I don't cry, if you spend time with a cow, you really can develop your clairaudience. And I think that spending so much time as a little child was mostly cows, because the humans in my life didn't want to spend time with me, or my parents, that's my brothers, but my parents were working so many jobs to keep our family going. So I spent a majority of my time, like, I would get off the school bus, drop my stuff, grab a snack, or no, not even grab a snack because the garden was down there, drop my stuff down. I'm talking about kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade. Drop my stuff in the living room, run down to the pasture, and just sit there, pull some beans out of the garden, a couple carrots out of the ground, wipe the dirt off on my shirt, and it's like, go talk to the cows. I would talk out loud, and then it's almost like the cows would respond back through their eyes. Like, you could get a whole conversation out of that cow just by kind of touching its side, like say this is my little tiny kid hand, just kind of holding on to them just with your hand, just putting your hand on them and talking to them and looking into their eyes. And I don't know if any of you guys have like spent time with cows, but it's pretty amazing. So they almost have this, like, I don't know how to really describe it super well. I just need to get a tissue just a second. Sorry. You guys know that I don't care if I cry, but I've not got very much makeup left, and I'm trying to conserve it. So, note to self: go vegan. Not for me. And it's not even about the taxidermy. Like, even when I did veganism, it was only with the diet. It wasn't with all the stuff around me, obviously, because I would have to get rid of everything I've got. But when I did the vegan diet, I never felt well. You know, and I would do it for 2 years at a time and think, oh, I just got to get over this hump and I'll start to feel good. Never, ever, ever felt good. When I did the raw foods diet, more energy I've ever had in my whole life. Felt so good. My periods were shorter, which means there was less toxicity in my body. And I had no period pain. And I have endometriosis, so that's a big deal. But raw foods, the reason I had to stop doing it, even though it was amazing, like, made me feel amazing, and my goal was not to lose weight, but I got down to 111 pounds, and everybody around me was so worried, right? Right now I weigh 119. So I got down to maybe 122 or something. So I got down to 111 pounds, and I wasn't trying, I was eating 2,700 calories a day on the raw foods diet, you know? Raw cashew butter just by the spoonful, so I could get loads and loads of fats, proteins, omegas, etc. Felt amazing, was tracking everything, but I was wasting away into nothing. So here's what I'm thinking about that. Maybe we're meant to be small creatures. I don't know, because I felt amazing. Whereas on the vegan diet, I felt good ethically, but I never felt good. I never had bursts of energy. I was doing everything right with the vitamins and tracking my calories and, you know, all of that stuff. But I just never felt well. Raw foods, I felt better than I've ever felt in my whole life. So, had to quit that after 6 months because everyone around me was scared. I wasn't scared because I felt good, but I didn't like the way I was starting to look. When I laid down, my hips stuck out. I had that issue where my ribs stuck out further than my boobs, and I didn't look well, but I felt great. And that's why I say maybe we're meant to be small creatures. I don't know. But yeah, Vegan sounds good in theory to me, but it doesn't work for my body, and I'm sad about that. So what are we chatting about? Joyce says, I loved our cows. They were telepathic, I think. They show love and appreciation and understanding way more than most people. Absolutely. That's why I was running down, like, right after my shitty day at school to go hang out with my cows, you know? I got teased a lot because because the bus picked me up right in front of my house, so, like, people knew where I lived, and it wasn't a bad house, you know? But I think they knew that I lived on a farm, and, you know, a lot of the people around me, because we were up in this farm area, and then right down below us was, like, all the amazing waterfront homes and all of that, and so a lot of the kids around me, I don't know, they're just very, very different, and they live different types of lives, and, like, you know, I'd never had a lot of things that I would go visit their houses and be like, oh my god, like, I literally thought that I was, like, living in a mansion in a movie, and, like, it's just a normal house for most people. If a house had stairs, it was a mansion to me. Ah, thank you, Butterfly Magic with hot tea. There's always random things around here, of course. It's like living in a crazy person's museum. My home. Okay. If I had a raw coven, maybe could stay in it. That's the other thing. Raw foods diet with no partner to do it with you is so flippin' hard. If you think a vegan diet is hard to do by yourself, no. A raw foods diet is hard. It's also very expensive. And that's another reason I had to stop. I just felt so amazing. The Raw Coven, what a great name for a band. Oh no, I thought of a great name for a band. What was it? I was on the toilet and it was disgusting. I was thinking of... Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, the name for the band was... It wasn't Used Condom, it was something else. What was it? I'll let you know when I think of it. But it was so good! And funnily enough, Tangerine, I thought of texting you and being like, oh my gosh, listen to what I just thought of, it's hilarious. But instead, I just internalized it and thought, oh, that's disgusting. Don't say that to anyone. What was it? No idea. It was really funny. I know, I need to know too. Secondhand tampon? Oh my god, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Butterfly Magic, that's a good one. Secondhand tampon. It's like saying, can I borrow a tampon? It's like, I don't want it back. You go ahead. I use a Luna cup. I haven't bought tampons in 3 years. It's kind of awesome. But I do replace my Luna cup once a year. Just because I feel like, you know, you should. And in between, like when I'm done with my moon time, I soak it in Bragg's raw apple cider vinegar to clean it off. Luna cups are awesome. I blessed mine in the moonlight last full moon during that blue flower moon. I'm really excited to work with this cow tongue, you guys. Really excited. Oh, you know, also, when I take the cow tongue out, there's going to be loads of liquid in the bag, and that liquid is blood. At a lot of different shops, you can get chicken's blood, cow's blood, all different kinds of blood from animals. And that is something that appears a lot of times in hoodoo. Chicken's blood. Probably more your, like, traditional, old school folk magic hoodoo workings. What was that band name? Recycled toilet paper. Haha, that's a good one, Butterfly. What was it? No. But I could tell you what else I was thinking of. But I can't because it's just so rated R. And my daughter watches this. Okay. How do I say this without young people decoding it? I'm going to say it. Did you know that there's a whole group of young people out there? And, like, honestly, there's a generation of people. And this started, like, 10 years ago, and it got really popular. There are so many girls out there that are having sex but have never had traditional intercourse for fear of being pregnant. Did you know that that's like a thing, that girls, for fear of getting pregnant, have never had like traditional? And to me, I'm just like, what? That's, I don't know. That's definitely a conversation that has nothing to do with cows. But here on my channel, we talk about whatever the hell we're thinking about. So there we go. Yeah, there's completely a group of young women out there, and men, that have never had traditional sex, just the other kind, because for fear of getting pregnant. And guess what? You can still get diseases that way. Jeez Louise. Anyway, let's change the subject. I know, without protection you can get STDs and all of that. Like, these people are just, all they care about is not living, but not creating another life, which is just like crazy to me. Aren't you worried about your own life being short? No, it's not that. I'm not saying it right because I don't want to say it. You know how there's sodomy and then there's intercourse? Well, they're only practicing sodomy because that way the guy still gets to do it, and you don't lose your boyfriend. And I don't know, like, it's just crazy to me that that women would go for that, you know, and just be like, also never have had traditional sex. You can't get nothing if you don't have sex. Exactly. And that's called abstinence, right? Okay, I really do feel like we should change the subject now. I just don't know how. So somebody, think of something we can talk about, because I'm officially embarrassed. But I was thinking of that when I created the band name, so that's why I even went there. But like I say, now I feel like I shouldn't have gone there. Butter! Let's talk about butter! Let's talk about butter. Good one, Tangerine. Butter. Butter's great. Butter comes from cows. Traditionally, you could have goat's butter. Apple butter is life. My grandmother used to make apple butter. So good. And she kept it in this awesome dish. She always put it in the same, like, glass dish. Not Tupperware, because Tupperware is not glass, but what was that? That ware. What's that ware called? Pyrex. It's like a Pyrex thing with these little prints of flowers on it. It was really pretty. I don't know who ended up getting that, but I did tell my grandma I wanted it, and then I didn't get it. It was a bummer. But I love apple butter. It is kind of life, isn't it? Yeah. Coral is living where? Yeah, and you, oh, Corningware. Corningware, yep. Corningware. Ghee is your butter. Nello ghee is great. Ghee is really good for you. I hear it's a superfood. And Organic Valley now makes ghee. It's like $25 for a little jar of it. But man, it is good. And it's good for you. And it's what the yogis eat in place of butter. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, isn't it clarified? Clarified butter? It'd go great on this tongue. Like a ghee sauce. Yeah, $25 for a little organic thing of ghee. It's very pricey. But speaking of coral, I did make this coral necklace yesterday, and it's so cool. I love looking at it. Oh, it's stunning. It's so pretty, that coral. It's kind of like grayish black. Oh boy. So I've got a lot to do today. I think what we should do is just read a couple of things out of these books, because I really do enjoy that, especially this Raymond Buckland book. Just kind of go through and read some just random conversation. Here we go. Alright, so let's just, spirit guides, please help me pick amazing topic to talk about. The Kabbalah. We could talk about the Kabbalah or Kali or Karma. What do you guys want to talk about? Or we could talk about Queen Elizabeth I astrologer, Edward Kelly. So what do you guys want to talk about? The Kabbalah, the Kali, God Kali, or Karma, or the Queen's astrologer? Dandelion seeds, Kabbalah. Okay, great. Kabbalah. So there are so many ways to spell the word Kabbalah. Right here we're looking in the K section. So when you spell it with a K, it can be spelled one of two ways. K-A-B-B-A-L-A-H, or K-A-B-A-L-A, or C-A-B-A-L-A, or Q-A-B-A-L-A-H. The Kabbalah. Now, from what I understand, this is like a tree of life in Jewish mysticism. Jewish mysticism is definitely something that's very similar to our occult practices. Definitely have its own differences, but you'll see a lot of similarities. So let's read about the Kabbalah. A Jewish system of theosophy, magic, philosophy, science, and mysticism. I did pretty good with the way I described it. The name means knowledge received through tradition. Knowledge received through tradition. That's what the Kabbalah breaks down to meaning. Legend has it that God whispered the secrets of the Kabbalah to Moses, who in turn passed it onto 70 elders. They in turn passed it to their successors, and so it continued as an oral tradition. Which is, by the way, super awesome. I'm just processing that and thinking about that. And when something is an oral tradition and never written down, that to me makes it feel like a very, very important secret, a very, very select few to know this knowledge. Because once you put something in print, anyone can get their hands on this information. And the Kabbalah is the very, essence of Jewish mysticism, if I understand correctly. So I think it's awesome that for the longest time, nothing was ever written. It was just an oral tradition. Many of them writing anonymously published versions of it, but some say that even today there are some of the most secret parts of the Kabbalah known only to a few initiates. The two most popular books on the subject are Zohar, Z-O-H-A-R, and I think a lot of us have seen that book, or the Book of Splendor, written in Spain in the late 13th century by Moses de Leon and Sefor Yazati, written in, or Book of Creation, written in either Babylon or Palestine between the 3rd and 6th centuries. The Kabbalah teaches that God, known as Ein Sof, or infinite radiance, is in all things, good and evil. All things in the universe are part of an organized whole, but the whole is governed by a secret law with hidden connections to each other. 10 emanations, known as the Sephiroth, singular, came from God. These, in the form of angels and men, make up the tree of life, which contains aspects of the divine. The tree is arranged in 3 triangles representing the human body, with the 10th point being the reproductive organs. The 10th underlie construction of the universe and all of humankind. 22 paths connect them all together. These link to the 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. The tree of life shows how God descended from Kether, the crown, to Malkuth, the earth. It also shows how humankind can raise God to earth. The Kabbalah's teachings are similar to those of Gnosticism. Okay, remember we talked about Gnosis and how I use Gnosis for activating sigils. Those of you who've seen my Law of Attraction video know how I use Gnosis. And so the Kabbalah's teachings are similar to those of Gnosticism, which flourished in the countries around the Eastern Mediterranean at the time of Christianity was taking first root. Kabbalists and Gnostics both believed that the way to God is through knowledge and that the only sin is ignorance. I absolutely love that that wordage, the only sin is ignorance. When I talk about, we talked about last night, watching true crime, even though it's super gory and gruesome, but knowing what's around you so that you can protect yourself. And I feel that that's kind of one and the same there. The only sin is ignorance. Bye, Ikil. So nice to see you. Yeah, okay, Uncle Badger. I think that we should do a segue onto that. The Kabbalah is used by many ceremonial magicians. Since it incorporates Judaism's authoritative monotheism and strict codes of behavior, it is not part of witchcraft. It is not a part of witchcraft. Many individual Wiccan, however, are interested in it and pursue their own studies and practice of it. Okay, well, I'm not a Wiccan. I practice witchcraft. I'm eclectic. And I've always been super interested by the Kabbalah and the Tree of Life and Jewish mysticism. So perhaps that's just me because I love theology. I love learning about religions of all kinds, whether they're good or bad in my eyes. And yeah, let's read a bit on Gnosis, if we can find it in this book, which I'm guessing we'll be able to since he brought it up. Oh, there's Hag! You guys want to read about Hag or Gnosis? I'll give you some choices. I've done a video on Hag, but I always like to talk about it. So we could either read about Hag or Gnosis. Hag. But I can't promise Gnosis because I don't even know if it's in here. It's not even in here. What is he doing? Okay, well, what should we read about, y'all? Oh, excellent, Tangerine. Please tell us all about it because someone responded to her hashtag, which is, who's your alter ego? Okay, I have an alter ego, but I'm not brave enough to share her with you. Her name is Dee Dee Winger. And I actually have more than one, but Dee Dee Winger, I could tell you a little bit about her. She's horrible, but she's hilarious. She says all the things that I'm afraid to say, and she says them without reservations. So at times she can sound really not politically correct. And just insensitive and all the things I try to like really hard not to be, that's what she is. So I don't know if I'm ready to let Dee Dee Winger out, but there's a little bit about her and you guys can be the judge of if she should come out or not. Okay, so should we read about hags or should we read about blood? Or we could read about the word blessed be, which I've been wanting to talk about for quite some time with you guys. There's a great video out there called Don't Blessed Be Me. And it's just talking about what the wordage actually means. Because I think a lot of people use it and don't know what it means. So we could talk about blessed be. We could talk about blood. We could talk about banish. We could talk about the atame or athame, however you pronounce it. What would you guys like? Let's talk about blessed be? Okay, excellent. Let's talk about blessed be. So, basically the way I understand it is when you say blessed be to someone else, you are wishing them a baby and fertility and a baby. So for those of us who don't want any more children or don't want to be pregnant, it's okay. I know nobody says it to be rude. I think, but I don't think people say it knowing what's behind it. Kind of like throwing aloha out there for anything, saying like aloha as hello and goodbye or whatever. Okay. So, blessed be is like a wish of fertility and a wish that you'll have a baby. So let me try and read it out of these two books because they both talk about it in different wordages. But every time I tell someone that, they're like, I didn't know that! And I'm like, yeah. And then they say, oh, well that's kind of like how I feel when Christians say I'll pray for you. I'm like, that's exactly kind of how I feel when people say blessed be to me. So I'm not saying that I'm mad when anyone says it, but I do say my own stuff to myself after it's said to me. Okay, right here. Blessed be, and we're in Raven G's book, Encyclopedia of Wiccan Witchcraft, and blessed be appears on page 55. Blessed be is a phrase used in both greeting and parting. It is derived from the ritual verse in which blessings are given to all attendants. In some traditions, the priestess or priest may say, blessed be all in the names of the god and goddess. From such verses arose the custom of saying blessed be, in remembrance that we are all one. It has also become a phrase of acknowledgement that we all bear within us the divine spark, that we are blessed by inner presence. On a mundane level, it is simply a well-wishing between kindred spirits. Okay, so that's one way of describing it, and I think that's the way most people use it as. But, and I'm guessing that we're not going to get it from this book, sadly. I do want to talk about that as well. So, I'll read Blessed Be from this book, and I will try and find the actual information which I read about the fertility. Blessed Be. Traditional, this is the Raymond Buckland Witch book. Traditional greeting of wishes. It is shortened form of a blessing, including the initiation ceremony in many traditions. In the full rite of Blessed Be, for those who want to know it, is blessed be thy feet that have brought thee in these ways. Blessed be thy knees that shall kneel at the sacred altar. Blessed be thy womb, genitals, the fount of life within which we are, and within which we would not be. Blessed be thy breasts, erect in beauty and in strength. Blessed be thy lips, which shall utter the sacred names. To say blessed be is to another is to imply this full blessing. And so there it kind of describes it. In the full blessing of blessed be, you are also blessing thy womb and genitals, the front of life, without which we could not be. You're blessing the breasts and hope, okay. So there's the full incantation of blessed be. I don't know which book of my 70 or 80 books that I read that fertility stuff out of, but I also have seen it in a couple of videos. So after I read it in my book, I started to do more online research and learning that it is a blessing of fertility. And so I myself, I'm going to end up taking this back. My husband wants to have another baby. So that's news. And you guys know I have a big history of miscarriages and trouble getting pregnant because of my blood type, etc. Okay. So I will let you guys know when to start saying blessed be to me. But, and honestly, you can say it whenever you want. I feel like me having this talk sounds really bitchy. But when I was actively doing infertility workings on myself because I didn't want to have another baby, now I'm starting to think about it. I'm like, okay, it might be cool to have a baby from the beginning and grow it up, raise it as a little witchling. So, my head's kind of all in pieces thinking about that, but I want to do whatever I need to make my family lovely and my husband happy, because I have a child. She's going to be 13, but my husband doesn't have any kids. And for those of you who are from blended families, you probably know that your 7-year-old daughter, because she was 7 when she met Alex, is not going to start calling him dad. She's going to do the opposite because she has a dad, and she wants to make it apparent to everybody that she loves her dad. So sometimes that is shown by children as disliking their stepfather. So Witchling is such a cute word, I agree, Nello. So I'm really trying, just like the Texas thing, I didn't want to go there, but now I'm starting to think of all these things that are like good reasons to do it. I need to do whatever I need to do to make my husband happy, because I want to be with him for all of time. Otherwise, I wouldn't have married him. I'm not a huge fan of marriage in general, but this person makes me so happy that when, like, he's been gone for a few days visiting his mom, and, like, my heart is just kind of empty, you know? I just feel like a little piece of me is missing, and that's, I think, how you can tell, like, you know, you're meant to be with somebody. When they're gone, you feel like a little piece of you is gone, too. So anyway, I will let you know when it's appropriate, and we'll all be saying blessed be to each other, but do know that it does have, in that entire incantation, it does have that background of bless the womb, bless the breasts, and, you know, that fertility blessing. Alex is my human Otis. I don't know. Me and Otis are more of a soul connection than me and Alex, but Alex is my best friend. And if I had a human Otis, it would be Alex. Hey Heather, how are you? This has been the weirdest, craziest video. So many crazy topics. Not even... Yeah, you're supposed to say, do I love him? Of course! I love him more than I can explain. More than I can explain. And I totally understand the feeling of wanting a baby. You know? I get it. There you go! Praise be, sister. Okay, so let's pick another thing to read out of in this book, but I have to get a better pillow to sit on. This it's killing me. Ugh. Space socks, still going strong. Turns out meditation pillows are only comfortable during meditation. Who wants to talk about Baphomet? Should we talk about Baphomet? Who wants to talk about Baphomet? This page of the book fell out, and that's why it's not in there. Do you guys know that this position right here, the hand position, like this, you can find that in a bit of cinema. Have you guys seen The Shining? If you guys have seen The Shining, Stanley Kubrick, at the very end, when they show the picture that proves that Jack Torrance was in some sort of reincarnation scheme, because it says 1930, he looks exactly the same, and he's standing in that big crowd of people. When it focuses in and you see him, what are his hands doing? They're doing this in the picture. He's doing the classic Baphomet pose with the two fingers up, bent arm, and straight arm down, just like this. So next time you watch The Shining, pay attention to that very last scene of the picture of Jack Nicholson. And he is in fact doing those gestures right there. Why is that? I don't know. But it is that. But Kubrick would know. But Kubrick is gone, so I guess we can't really ask now, can we? Okay, Baphomet. Okay, so this is that picture of Baphomet, and the reading starts here. Okay, in 1307, you guys, 1307. Oh, look at the synchronicities. It's 1313. 13 likes 13 people. I love that. In 1307, one of the accusations leveled by Philip IV of France against the Knights Templar in an effort to lay his hands on their enormous wealth was that they worshipped an image in the form of a human skull named Baphomet. Supposedly, there were a number of these skulls, or even a whole human head, one kept at each of the Templar centers. The name Baphomet is of unknown origin. It has been suggested by Montague Summers that it comes from the Greek word of baphe and metis, meaning absorption into wisdom. Others see it as a corruption of the name Maphomet, Muhammad, to Baphomet in Provence, home of the Cathars, the Albiges, and with whom the Templars are sometimes linked. As a result of the attacks on the Knights Templar, their leader and Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake. He was accused of worshipping the devil, of heresy, and of homosexuality. Under torture, only 12 of the 231 knights examined admitted to knowing anything of the head or skull. Some described it as simply a skull, and some said that it was a head made of wood, some a head of metal. It was also variously described as having feet or breasts, or being bearded. However described, the consensus seemed to have been that it was worshipped and regarded as a bringer of fertility and abundance. Joseph von Hammer Purgstall believed that the Knights Templar were in reality Gnostics. There we go again, we're talking about Gnostics, GN. I'm going to take a pause and just make sure Gnostics really isn't in here. GN. Because he talks about it so much, why wouldn't he put it in this book? You know what I mean? Not in here. All he has is gnomes. So frustrating, right? So frustrating, but that's okay. Oh, Tangerine, how was the video? I want to know about that. Okay. So Joseph von Hammer believed that the Knights Templar were in reality Gnostics, or secret heretics. He referred to objects of 13th century art consisting of various statues, goblets, coffers depicting androgynous figures, often with a skull at the feet, and displaying the symbol of the pentagram. As drawn by the 19th century French magician Alphonse Levi, Baphomet was a human-like figure with a goat's horned head and hind legs, as you can see here. There's a goat's head, and then there's hooves on the feet. But in the middle section, it seems to be human woman. Breasts, wings, beard, horns, crown with some fire, two serpents meeting up, and guess what this symbol is? Where do we see this symbol all the time? The serpents intertwined, and usually there's two intertwinings making three circles. That symbol is in the United States at least, on the ambulance. On the medical signs, it's the snakes intertwining. You guys have all seen that medical symbol, I know it. Yep. Why do you guys think that is? Chocolate chip on the third eye, that's what I think. Alright, so we're reading about Baphomet in continuance. So with a goat's horned head and hind legs, and with a bat's wings. So the wings are from the bat. So we've got the goat, bat wings, and woman. Goat, bat wings, and woman. A torch stood between the horns. A caducus rose at the phallus. That must be this. And a pentagram was inscribed on the goat's forehead. Doreen Valentine points out that there are similarities between these descriptions of the Templars' Baphomet, and deities acknowledged in witchcraft. For example, Wiccan deities are thought of as fertility figures or bringers of life. They are associated with a horned god, right? Beltane, the horned god. And with a goddess. In addition, the pentagram is used by witches. Valentine goes on to point out that there are frequently inner circles to magical orders. Such may have been the case with the Templars, judging from statements like that one of the accused, Stephen de Staffelbridge, who admitted to there being two professions in the order of the Temple, the first lawful and good, and the second contrary to the faith. He was admitted to the inner profession a year or so after his original initiation into the Templars. It was not unusual for deities to be thought of as androgynous. One of Dionysus's titles was diffuse, Diphues, or double-sexed. Mithras was sometimes so presented. The Syrian god Baal was sometimes presented as androgynous. Aleister Crowley took the name Baphomet as a member, so Aleister Crowley took on the name Baphomet as a member of the Ordo Templis Ornatialis, a secret society focused on sexual practices formed in Germany at the end of the 19th century. If you guys read Diary of a Drug Fiend, which I'm always talking about helps with addiction magic, and that's Aleister Crowley's story of his addiction and how he overcame it with magic, you'll learn a lot more about what we just read there. Although the Alpheus Levi drawing is popularly reproduced and often associated with witchcraft, though the symbolism mentioned above is actually not a part of witchcraft per se. Some individual witches acknowledge it as a representation of a Wiccan fertility deity, while others abhor it. What does abhor mean? A-B-H-O-R. Ignore. Disregard. I'm guessing, because of the way it's placed in the sentence, but I don't know. Oh, you know what it just said before I shut the book? It said Bedknobs and Broomsticks. You guys know that movie, right? It's just one of my very favorites, Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Oh, abhor is to really hate. Thank you, Butterfly Magic. I really appreciate that. So I'm going to put Baphomet back. I don't know why, but I've always adored this figure. Just the picture, you know, just the drawing. But I've never really gotten into it more than that. So yeah, that is my history with Baphomet. Shall we do some other reading, you guys? Let's try and pick another. Satanism was what I flipped to. It's pretty long. Samhain, Satanism, salt. Any word I say, you guys can put in big caps and choose, okay? And I'll read about it. Not that one. Salamanders, I did a video on that. Sacrifice. Sabbath. Rosemary's Baby. Page 101. Okay, I'll go to page 101, and we'll pick from there, Butterfly Magic. Coven, Covenstead, Covendom. So, do you guys want to read all the differences between the... Oh, that's long. I can't read that much. Let's do 111. That's one of my favorite numbers. Page 111. Patricia and Arnold Cowther. Okay, guys, just tell me one of the words I say which you want me to read, and we'll read it. Page 42? Okay, I'll try page 42. The things you guys have me do, I tell ya. Oh, page 42 is Beltane. We just read that page not long ago. Okay, I'm just going to start saying words. Macbeth, Magic Squares, Magus, Maid of Salem, Maiden, Mandrake, Macbeth? Okay. Let's read Macbeth. Hey, Lunchbox, how are you? Nice to see you. I'll read Macbeth, and then we will look up familiars. Okay, Macbeth. Reading out of the Witch Book by Raymond Buckland, and Macbeth appears just right on the first part of M there. Alright, and It's not too long. Macbeth. Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake. Eye of newt and tongue of dog, adder's fork, and blind worm's sting. These words from the second witch of the three in Shakespeare's Macbeth are words that most people automatically associate with witches. The picture of the three old hags gathered about a steaming cauldron, throwing in all kinds of obnoxious ingredients, stirring the brew, is typical of the popular misconceptions of witches and witchcraft in cinema and plays since the beginning of time. Not the beginning of time, but since Shakespeare at least. So I'm telling you, Hollywood paints a picture of us being evil for a reason, and I think that the reason is because we harness so much power, and if everybody knew that they could do that, they would take over the bigger problems of this world. That is my truth in what I think. Okay. In the play written about 1605, Macbeth is guided by the prophecies of the three witches. I've never seen Macbeth. I should totally watch it. Their words encouraging him to commit murder in his quest to become king. Ultimately, he dies cursing the three, and the day he met them on the heath. Interestingly, Shakespeare never refers to the three as witches in the words of the play, but as weird sisters. Weird sisters. The witch scenes in Macbeth are based on the idea of witches concocting evil brews with gruesome ingredients. In fact, this idea was the result of the propaganda for the Christian church at a time when it was trying to stamp out its viral witchcraft and paganism in general. When it was trying to stamp out its rival. Christianity's rival at that time, in the early 1600s, was paganism and witchcraft. Okay? The play was written only 2 years after King James I came out of the throne with all of his prejudice against the old religion. Witches did boil up brews then at their sabbats, but these were only ordinary stews and soups to eat. So that was using, like, kitchen magic. What are you on about, Tangerine? I don't understand. Okay, these names were frequently based on the appearance of the plant, the shape or the texture of its leaves or the color of its flowers, for example. Macbeth's witches speak of lizard's legs, adder's forked tongue, fillet of snake, and dog's tongue. Breastweed was commonly known as lizard's tail or lizard's leg. The dogtooth violet was known as adder's tongue. Fillet of snake was adder's meat or chickweed. Dog's tongue was toryweed. Okay, so this is really interesting information. A lot of people ask me, is eye of newt a thing? Like an herb or a name for an herb? Or is it an actual, you get a newt and you take out its eye? Okay, well right here it's explaining that, lizard's leg is actually the dogtooth violet, and adder's tongue... Wait, the dogtooth violet is known as adder's tongue. Fillet of snake was adder's meat or chickweed, and dog's tongue was toryweed. So these things that we picture as being like parts of animals, they're actually just names for herbs, it sounds like. So most ingredients mentioned in Macbeth and elsewhere were simply the common names of plants and herbs. Shakespeare added to the pagan image of the witches by having them conjure Hecate, the Greek goddess of witchcraft. Shakespearean scholars believe that Macbeth was originally a shorter play than the one we have today. It is generally felt that witchcraft scenes are added or expanded after the main play had been written. Some suggest that it might not have been Shakespeare who was responsible, that possibly Middleton made the additions. His play, The Witch, had been published in 1600. And that's what we have on Macbeth. Now, let's read about... I didn't know there was a magical alphabet. Did you guys know that? I mean, the Runic one I knew about, but look. There's this whole magical alphabet in here. which is cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to get to cutting up my cow tongue and getting it into the dehydrator and that. I'll probably will do a video on that. So I think what I'll do is I'll get the kitchen set up, I'll get the dehydrator ready, and then I'm going to go ahead and show you how to dehydrate a cow tongue for witchcraft workings. So that video will come with a big, warning for people who don't want to see what's in the red box. So I thank everybody so much for being kind and understanding while we talked about a lot of interesting topics today and a lot of off-the-cuff topics today. Baphomet, this group of women who have sex a certain way, cow tongue, cow skin, all these kinds of things. I appreciate you guys understanding why I want to talk about it. I appreciate you guys becoming a part of the conversation. And everybody make sure to check out my Etsy shop, Jukshylady, because I have so much new things in my shop. And also my Patreon, because I offer a lot on my Witchcraft Patreon. It is a Witchcraft Patreon like no other. Taxidermy Witch. Alright, you guys, I love you so much. I'm going to get this cow tongue prepared, and then we will cut it and get it in the dehydrator together. I think that will be a fun, interactive episode. So I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye! Bring me her heart in this gold box, I say.